Hello, I'm Alex Swoyer. Welcome to the Washington Times interview with Virginia Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earle-Sears, who is the Republican candidate running for governor to replace Glenn Youngkin. She is Virginia's first female lieutenant governor and the first woman of color elected to the job. Thank you so much. I actually wanted to start with the issue of race. I know it's something that's come up in the campaign. You just had a rude exposure to racism. I think it was the JMU football game. Someone in the stands yelled, go back to Haiti. Obviously, the person doesn't know much about you or geography. You're originally from Jamaica, born there, U.S. citizen now. I'm wondering what role race has played in your campaign, and have there been any other incidents like this that you found to come up, or is this isolated?
No, it's unfortunate, Alex. Thank you for having me, by the way. This racism issue has come up too often. The very famous one is one that most people probably know about, which is when you saw the sign that said Black people can't use our water fountain. And I mean, here I am, second in command in the former capital of the Confederate States. And really, is this what we're doing? And it's so bothersome because, my dad came to America August of 1963, just 17 days before Dr. King gave his I Have a Dream speech. And so here I am, second in command. And this what we're doing? And the Democrats are the ones who are doing it. It's not the Republicans. And supposedly the Democrats love us Black people more than everybody else, and they tolerate people more than everybody else, except when you don't toe whatever line they want you to toe, and that's not what we want to do. So I'm just so disgusted by it. And then you saw this liberal man tell me I needed to go back where I came from, which is a different country anyway. And does he forget that I said that I joined the Marine Corps while I was still not a citizen of this great United States, willing to give my life to fight, and yet he wants me to go home. You can't make this stuff up, and I think and I hope it opens people's eyes to the fact that this is not what America ought to be. Just because I am a Republican should not make any difference.
Right. And I think voters are, at least the 2024 election, when I was talking to voters, it seemed like they were tired of identity politics or trying to use race to align certain people to certain parties. I wanted to ask you specifically about President Trump. I believe this week he said that he wants the Republican in your race, in your governor's race, to win. But he hasn't really invested, in the race all that much. I was
And he
curious.
said that about Jersey too. Well, we want to make sure there's the Jersey race. We want to win that too.
That's true. I know I think he's spoken about both. I think it's Spanberger will be campaigning with President Obama. I think that's the plan. I was curious, some of I think it was Spanberger actually has criticized you as being a MAGA extreme, something like that. How does President Trump fit in this race? I was curious about your relationship with the Trump administration. I wanted to give you a chance to address that.
So I'm sure you know that the president wants me to win. And so you saw what he said. And let me tell you something. We are going to win in Virginia because we have the right ideas. We have the common sense ideas. When we came into office in 2022, after inauguration, Governor Youngkin opened up all the schools. The children were failing badly because they were looking at the silly computer screen that the previous governor, the Democrats, shut down all our schools, shut down our businesses, and shut down our houses of worship, just took total control of everything. You couldn't leave your house unless you had a written order on why you were able to leave. This is what, not COVID didn't do it, the response to COVID, the Democrat governor's response to COVID. So people were sick and tired of that. This is America. There's this thing we like liberty, like freedom. And so we opened up everything. We brought our economy back. We have so many jobs that we've created. We have, by the way, created almost 16,000 now new business startups, high paying startups that never existed until we came into office. And then we've been able to attract businesses from elsewhere to come to Virginia. And so we have now about 225,000 job openings. So we've historically put more people back to work and we still have job openings, and the businesses are still coming. Recently, Eli Lilly is coming to Virginia, $5 billion investment, Alex. And that's because they said they see what's happening in Virginia. They want it to continue. You know who else wants it to continue? The people of
I was
Virginia.
going to say, I'm sure the voters. One of the things I was going to say, so it sounds like that what you consider that an endorsement for yourself. And then on President Trump's agenda, specifically with National Guard troops, I was curious your thoughts on what he's done with crime. I know the troops here in Washington, D.C. have made quite an impact. He's talked about Oregon, Chicago. Would you see the use of Virginia being letting the president use Virginia National Guard to go into any cities to help lower crime rates?
Well, actually, my opponent, Abigail Spanberger, who had nothing to do with any of the aforementioned economic successes that we talked about, she, in fact, when she was in Congress, when she was a member there, she voted to make DC less safe because she voted against policies that would keep the criminals in jail, and she voted to lessen the penalties. And by the time the bill got to Biden, even Biden vetoed it. He said, no, that was a bridge too far. And what our Governor Youngkin, has done in order to stop the illegals and to keep our borders safe, especially those who are criminals, he sent the National Guard here from Virginia to help at the border, to help Texans. And so this is not something that's new to us. But let me tell you what we've been doing in Virginia. Since we've been in office, our great attorney general launched Operation Bold Blue Line. And let me tell you, it has decreased 33 to 34% murders in some of our worst cities. And we've noted a 33 to 49% decrease in other localities between 2023 and 24. We're talking about a statewide decrease of about 21% of really bad crimes. So we are not a soft on crime state. But my opponent, Abigail Spanberger, she voted to keep our borders open, which is why you saw all that fentanyl that was coming across, which all those murderers also were coming across. We have the number 3 MS-13 gang leader we found right here in Virginia. And you know where he is? Gonna be gone. We found 4,000 criminals who are illegally here in some form of deportation status on their way back home. My opponent voted to keep those criminals who are illegally here. And that makes no sense because she voted against the Lake and Riley Act. So we don't want Abigail Spanberger. She doesn't know how to keep us safe. She would, in fact, keep us unsafe, which is why I have over 81 sheriffs, unheard of, historic number. They're Democrats, Republicans, and independents who have supported me and endorsed me.
On the topic of immigration, I know you've spoken out about sanctuary jurisdictions. One of our editors covers immigration, and he specifically wanted me to ask you about Fairfax County. He said it's come up repeatedly as having run-ins with ICE. You mentioned MS-13 illegals in the state that we want to make sure to keep Virginia safe. What's your take on that? What's going on with Fairfax and their treatment with ICE?
One of the things I think we need to do is to recall Steve Descano. He is our, in other places you would call him district attorney. He is a Commonwealth attorney. And he has repeatedly made decisions that have put public safety at risk, including releasing a man who was arrested of attempted kidnapping. And this is just 3 days after he was arrested and he was let go by Steve Descano for something else. I mean, the man has been arrested, I think, 43 times. And so I was leading a recall at, look, advising people, get rid of him because he is not keeping anyone safe. And also, my opponent has been endorsed by him. And, we were trying to get her to say, no, she doesn't want his endorsement. Why? Because he's not doing his job. But apparently, this is something that's standard for my opponent. You talk about keeping people safe. Her running mate, who is the attorney general nominee, he has advocated for murder of his political opponents, Jay Jones has, and also Jay Jones has advocated for the murder of his opponents to young children. And she won't remove herself from him either and get rid of her endorsement for him. So, she's just not right, Abigail Spanberger, for Virginia. She wouldn't keep us safe. And in fact, she said first day she's elected, which she won't because we in Virginia have common sense. She said she is going to make sure that Virginia is a sanctuary state. Has she lost her mind? Of course she has. Sanctuary to whom? Criminals who are legally here? I think not.
Correct. And I've also followed a lot of polling nationally that doesn't seem to be what voters want anywhere, any city or any state. Last question for you. I want to ask you a little bit of Virginia history. It's my understanding that over the past few decades, voters seem to go the opposite party of the president when it comes to the governor. I think there's been once where that trend has broken. Why this year should that trend also break?
Well, you see what's happening. I mean, when you have someone who is so ill-suited for Virginia as my opponent, Abigail Spanberger, you saw her on the debate stage. She wouldn't answer questions that made sense. She has voted that men can be nude in women's locker rooms and in front of our girl children even. And by the way, that has happened in Arlington. It's happened in Fairfax County. And nobody wants that. And I asked her, what about your own children? Is that what you would want for them? Silence, crickets. She doesn't understand again how any of this works. She would get rid of our right to work, which she would drive businesses out of Virginia. We don't want that. We're creating businesses here. Again, she is wrong, and the people know that. She was never in any of the rooms when we were creating economic successes. So they're not going to pass the baton to her.
Yeah, and
It would be me.
go ahead. I was going to say, I noticed she also had a hard time answering your questions about Jay Jones's text messages in regards to, you mentioned children, the killing of other children, which were just so, in the realm of political violence we're living in, was just abhorrent.
Yes, absolutely. And not only that, but she herself has advocated for violence because she said to her supporters on more than two occasions, let your rage fuel you. And she said this after the murder of Charlie Kirk. I mean, what kind of a woman is this who wants to be our governor here in our great Commonwealth? We cannot have her. And rage what? Fuel what? And to whom? So, yeah, she is calculating, she's cunning, and we cannot have her.
Yes, the rhetoric, I think, is one of the top concerns for voters anywhere. They're worried about what we saw with Charlie Kirk, and then that hasn't seemed to tamp down on one side of the aisle thus far. I just wanted to thank you for your time, and I also wanted to thank you for your service. We'll be paying close attention to your race over the next few weeks, and good luck.
Thank you very much, and thank you. And please go to winsomeforgovernor.com and help support my campaign. Thank you all.